Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. I'm out in the field near my home on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and I'm going to put these three drones up in the air and capture some footage so you can compare the brand new EVO 2 Pro to the Mavic 2 Pro and the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. Now I'll film everything at 4K 30 frames a second because that's a common format for all three of these, and I'll post those files on the web, and there's a link below for that where you can actually download the raw files, bring them into your own editing software, and do your own comparisons. Now it'll be really interesting to see, number one, how that footage compares, and I've set everything on auto, so I'm not going to do any tweaking of ISOs or shutter speeds or any of that stuff, just to make it a fair comparison, and we'll see how they look. Now I've got a couple other locations I'd like to fly at as well, so we'll see if the weather holds up, but if it does, I'll post all that footage up there as well. So stay tuned and we'll get started. Okay, that was the EVO 2 Pro, and I have to say that the video on that had really rich colors. I know I can dial those back in post if I want to, but to me, when I was looking at that field, I wasn't 200 feet in the air, but looking at that field from the ground, those colors are pretty close to exactly what that field looked like. It seems like they just fertilized it, and everything was really bright green, so I like that an awful lot. I also recorded some 6K footage that'll be in the folder for the EVO 2 in case you want to check that out. That 6K footage is incredibly sharp, so definitely take a look at that. Now I'm going to move on to the Mavic 2 Pro, and then finally the Phantom 4 Pro V2. So stay tuned, here comes the Mavic 2 Pro. The Mavic 2 Pro footage looked a little bit flatter to me, a little less intense in the color saturation, but that's definitely something you can tweak in post, and not that big a deal. But I still can't get past just how clear those images are from the sky. That 1-inch sensor makes such a difference when you compare it to, say, a 1/2 inch or a 1/2.3-inch sensor. It just captures so much more detail in those photos, especially when you're flying, like I was at the end of that first part, over that farm equipment, then looking down, you can pick up details in that farm equipment that it's just incredible from 200 feet up that you can get that level of detail. So very impressed with it. I also forgot how much fun that Mavic 2 Pro is to fly. It's a great quad and it's extremely responsive in the air. So let's take a look at the Phantom 4 Pro V2 next, and then I'll come back with some final conclusions. That footage from the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 looked pretty incredible as well, and to me, it looks similar to the footage we got from the Mavic 2 Pro. The one difference I did notice between the two when I was reviewing the footage was it seemed like the Phantom 4 Pro had a different contrast and brightness than the Mavic 2 on auto settings. It seemed to be a little brighter and a little less detail on the contrast side. When I was flying over the lake, especially where it was overcast, I got a lot more detail popping out of the Mavic 2 Pro. And again, I could have adjusted shutter speed and ISO to sort of compensate for that, or used an ND filter to really crisp it up. But I wanted to do all three of these on auto settings just to see what they'd present when they were flying naturally. And again, you can even adjust that in your editing software later on if you want. So there is a difference a little bit there on the contrast. I did notice the color profiles looked almost exactly the same. So I had a really good depth of color. The intensity was right on the money. So they were very similar in a lot of ways when they were flying, and that shouldn't be a big surprise because they're both built by DJI. They both sport a 1-inch sensor. They both have similar algorithms that process the data coming back from that sensor, similar chipsets, so of course they're going to look very similar when they're flying. Now, I did notice a big difference between these two and the EVO 2 Pro. This just seemed to have a much richer color palette. It seemed to have crisper images. And again, on auto settings, I think it did a better job of capturing what that field looked like from the sky. So for me, I like a little bit of an oversaturated picture. That's just the way I think things look good, but it may be different for you. And that's why I uploaded all these files on the web. It's really important that you download those files, do the comparison yourself, because again, what looks good to me may not look good to you. You may not like that oversaturated color picture, whereas I like that an awful lot. So for me, this is the one that won in the sky, but it's a very personal decision, like I mentioned at the top of this. So definitely download the files, compare them side by side. And what I'm trying to do here with this clip is give you all the information you need to make the right purchase decision, because all of these quads are fairly expensive. And before you buy one, you want to make sure you're seeing exactly what you want in the quad that you want to purchase. Now, a couple other things to note. Again, all three of these have 1-inch sensors. A big difference on this one is it's got the Hasselblad lensing system on it. The 1-inch sensor on all three of these capture a tremendous amount of detail in the pictures they're shooting and the video they're shooting, so you can't really go wrong with a 1-inch sensor. A couple other differences. The P4 has got a mechanical shutter. Now that's going to matter if you're taking pictures of things that are moving or the quad's moving when you're taking those pictures, because a mechanical shutter will sort of freeze that action immediately and give you really sharp edges. These have digital shutters, and if you're shooting photos of things when you're moving around, you might get a little bit of jello on these two. The other difference was in the air, when I was flying, especially over the ocean where there was a lot of wind up there when I got it up to 200 feet, the Phantom 4 stayed exactly where I put it. So it was rock solid in the air. I could spin it, I could move it, and it wasn't moving an inch. It was really just rock solid. And that has to do with the fixed airframe design. It's got a little extra weight to it, so there's ballast to the quad. It's not getting buffeted around up in the wind like these guys did. Both of these moved around quite a bit up in the air, but again, they've got stabilized gimbals, so you didn't see it in the footage, but when I looked up and was watching them, I could see that wind bouncing them around a little bit. It's a minor point, but I thought I'd mention it. The last thing I'll say is portability. So the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 for me is the most stable in the air. It's got the 1-inch sensor, it's got the mechanical shutter on it, but it's also a pain to bring around because it's big, right? So you got to bring a big cabinet with you. Both of these are foldable quads. So if you're looking for a quad to shoot real estate photography where you're driving to a location, or if it's going to be with you all the time, this one's not a bad solution for you up in the air. Again, the pictures are great on that. The 1-inch sensor is a little bit older than these two newer sensors, but a fantastic quad. These two are incredibly portable, so I like the fact that I can fold them up, put them in a small bag, take them with me on an airplane when I'm traveling. Again, the difference between these, so I've got a Hasselblad sensor in this one. This is the latest version of the 1-inch sensor on the market today. That's the EVO 2 Pro. The other thing this will do is the 6K footage. Now, I put a couple of files up there on the EVO 2 Pro in 6K. Definitely download this and take a look at those, because I could not get over the detail in that video. When I flew back away from that beach, looking down on those homes, it was just incredibly crisp. So the 6K really does make a difference. But again, 6K is not something a lot of people are going to render against today, because computers can't handle it. They start to strain if you start trying to render 6K or 8K. But I do like the fact that I've got a 6K image, because it allows me to pull in tight to get the detail I need if I want to blow something up or zoom in digitally. So I am going to use the 6K an awful lot on that. But besides that, again, it's a very subjective decision. So all the files are out there. There's a link below. You can go grab them. Please download. They're going to take a little bit of time because they're pretty good sized files, but download them, take a look at them, do the comparisons yourself, and then put the comments below of what you think looks best to you, because I know this is going to be one of those sort of Chevy Ford fights where everybody's got a favorite, but I want to hear your opinions. And if you pick up things that I missed in those files, let me know. Please don't post those files publicly. I'm just giving them to you to play with and sort of compare side by side. And that's pretty much it for today. Now, I promise you, I've got a ton more clips coming on all three of these quads individually and as comparisons, both mechanically and physically. We're going to do some clips comparing them side by side. I've got a lot of other high-tech stuff coming. Brand new Mavic Air 2's coming. I've got a bunch of other quads coming. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down there. I'm going to be giving quads away this summer. You're definitely going to want to get in on that. And being subscribed means you're going to get a bell every time we post a clip up. And if we're giving away quads, you definitely want to get in on that. So I hope you found value in this. I spent a lot of time doing this one, and I love flying. So any excuse I can get to go out on a beautiful day on the beach and put quads up and start filming stuff, I'm out there. So thanks an awful lot for watching, and until next time, happy flying.